Hello, fifth graders. We're going to continue reading more of Hugo. We are on chapter 5, and this chapter is called Papa George Made Movies. Remember the important discovery that Hugo made in the book that he found at the Film Academy. Later that day, Hugo returned to his room with the book from the library under his arm. A teen had arranged for him to borrow it. He had read the book again and again, especially the part about Georges Méliès. He stared into the face of the man in the moon. Suddenly, he heard a loud knock on his door. "Hugo, it's me, Isabelle." Hugo jumped up and opened the door. Isabelle had brought her own flashlight. She had walked with crutches and her foot was bandaged. "What are you doing here?" he asked. "How did you even get here with your crutches?" "Everyone thinks I'm in bed. It took me a long time to climb out of my window and make my way here." Okay, if I'm thinking about Isabelle as a character, and if I'm thinking about some character traits to describe her, the fact that she is so dedicated to Hugo and kind of figuring out this mystery, that she would climb out of her window in the middle of the night with her foot bandaged and with crutches, go all the way to the train station, and then think about the way that Hugo has to get up to his apartment, climbing through small vents. I think like she's a very determined young girl. There's a lot of great words we could use to describe her just from that little clue that the author gave or the way he described her just then. They sat down on the bed and Isabelle immediately started to cry. "What is it?" Hugo said. "I'm sorry I slammed your fingers in the door, and I'm sorry I didn't tell my godparents I stole the notebook. I was just mad at you for taking my key." "Which you stole," Hugo said. Isabelle ignored him and kept talking. "And now Papa George is very sick. His fever is so high, and he's talking to himself. He just mumbles strange things like a wingless bird and a burned up building, a splinter, a fly, a grain of sand. I'm so worried about him. I've never seen him this sick before. What if he dies?" "He's not going to die," said Hugo. "You don't know that. Papa George supports all of us. What would we do? Mama Jeanne called a doctor who wrapped up my foot and gave us a prescription for Papa George. But with the toy booth closed, we have no money to get the medicine for anything else." "Everything's going to be all right," Hugo said. "But first, I have to show you something." He handed her the book from the Film Academy library, opened to the page with the film still of the rocket in the man in the moon's eye. Isabelle stared at it in disbelief. "That's what the machine drew." "Read it." Isabelle read the pages about her godfather. "Papa George made movies? I can't believe it, but he won't even let me go to the movies." "My father saw this movie when he was a boy," said Hugo. "He pointed to the still from A Trip to the Moon. He described this scene to me. I recognized it when the automaton drew the picture." Hugo told her about his trip to the Film Academy library and seeing a teen again. Isabelle put down the book. Why did Papa George stop making movies? How did he end up at the train station? She stretched out her leg. "Why didn't anyone ever tell me any of this?" "Before I left the Film Academy library," said Hugo, "I told a teen everything that was going on, and he brought me to meet his teacher, the one who wrote this book. I could tell they didn't really believe me, so I, What did you do?" asked Isabelle. "I invited them to come to your apartment." "You what?" "Etienne and Renee Tabard are coming to your apartment next week. Monsieur Tabard wants to see your godfather for himself. Mama Jeanne will never allow this visit." "Then don't tell her about it. Just wait until they show up." "That's a very bad idea, Hugo." "Well, I could cancel the visit, but I don't think we should. This is how we can find out everything. Don't mention it to your godmother yet. Don't tell her about the book or ask her any questions. Let's wait until Etienne and Monsieur Tabard come. Then she'll see that there are people who are happy her husband is alive, who remember him. And she'll answer our questions. I'm sure she will." Isabelle shook her head. She looked very confused. "You know, You never told me where you got the mechanical man. Hugo had never told anyone the whole story. It had been his secret for so long he wasn't sure if he even had the words. But he looked at Isabelle, and it was as if he could feel the cogs and wheels begin to engage in his mind. And the words suddenly came together. He relayed the whole story from his father's discovery of the automaton up in the attic of the museum to the fire to the arrival and disappearance of his uncle. He told her about discovering the toys in her godfather's booth and how he then used them to fix the automaton. He told her everything. When Hugo was finished, Isabelle was quiet for a few moments and then said, "Thank you." "For what?" "For telling me." "Come by the booth tomorrow after school. I have an idea." "But the booth will be closed." "No, it won't," said Hugo. All right, and I am going to stop there. Thanks for listening today.